This week, we'll ask the question: in a rapidly changing world, there's a resurgence of esoteric Freemasonry as new generations come into the craft. How do we best handle that? What are the correlations between all of these esoteric orders and what Freemasonry offers today, and how can we support those brothers coming into the craft who are looking for that? Then, we'll check out a great piece that was published in November of 2025, The Mystery of the Circle and Square. Brother Axel Silvari takes us on a deep dive into a poetic tapestry, exposing the circle and square as a wonderful, all-encompassing symbol, and ultimately a revelation of non-duality, perhaps. All this and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 698. Right away, I want to thank our producers, contributors, fellows, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. You guys are exceptional. Thank you for making this show possible. We've been doing it since July of 2011, and of course, through your help, we've been able to grow every single year. If you'd like to find out more on how you can help support the WCY podcast to bring Masonic education and information on its kindred sciences to anyone interested in the royal art, head on over to our website, wcypodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check out those various options. There's also an option to make a one-time gift via PayPal. Even $1 helps. If you're somebody who wants to do some shopping and help out the show, we also have our limited edition shop, featuring our producer's pin and several books that we've published and written, which will come to you autographed. Now, another quick update from the WCY shop page. I've freshened things up to make supporting the podcast even easier. All my signature skull and crown leatherworks, like those keychains and journals you love, have moved to a brand new Etsy store called WCY Skull Crown. That's the name of the shop. The entire shop section now embeds the Etsy store right in there, so you can browse and buy without leaving the site. So you can head on over to the website shop page to check it out. Super seamless for grabbing EDC, leather goodies that fund the Masonic education, and of course more episodes of the WCY podcast. In addition to that, we're having an Oracle deck blowout. That's right. So you know I geek out on collecting tarot, oracle cards, and classic playing card decks. It's a blast, but yeah, abundance happens. So I'm clearing out over 30 oracle decks on the WCY Skull Crown Etsy page, priced at just $5 to $8 each. Normally those things are like in stores for $15 to $30 retail, so there's some killer deals. So with media mail shipping, most of these decks are going to get to you for around $13 out the door. It's a total steal for quality decks from my collection. So snag some to dive into divination, help with my shelves, and keep the podcast rolling strong for all your Masonic insights. Presentation schedules. This is really exciting. I'll be next attending Masonic Week. However, the week after that is the Conference of Grand Masters. So I've got some exciting news to share. I'm thrilled to announce I'll be speaking at the Conference of Grand Masters of North America, or COGMNA, on Tuesday, February 17th from 11 to noon in the John Wayne Rooms A and B. This is an esoteric talk. It's going to be pretty wild, diving into some deep topics that I'm super pumped to unpack for everyone. Please note that the time and room are subject to change since we are not fully in charge of the schedule. So keep an eye on official updates. And I just want to say that I'm deeply honored by the opportunity and so appreciative to my home jurisdiction and to Grandmaster Farrell and all of the officers of the Grand Lodge of Illinois and all of the Grand Lodges coming together at Conference of Grand Masters North America. So if you're attending, I hope to see you there. Let's make it a memorable session, guys. All right, now off into the wild blue yonder, into the Masonic education for this week. To set the stage before we begin, I'd like to start far away. So the first piece I want to read to you comes from the Square magazine. It's the Masonic magazine for the UK. The first piece is written by Chacon Lujan Francisco, and the title of the article is Esoteric Freemasonry in the 21st Century. Let's check it out. In a rapidly changing world, the resurgence of esoteric Freemasonry beckons a new generation of seekers. This article explores the deep connections between Freemasonry, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and alchemy, revealing how they shape a mystical journey towards personal enlightenment. Discover how the craft can reclaim its transformative heritage today. Dear brothers, Freemasonry has long been regarded as a guardian of ancient wisdom. blending moral philosophy, symbolism, and ritual to guide seekers on a path of enlightenment. Yet, in recent decades, many lodges have moved away from their more esoteric foundations, emphasizing fraternity and philanthropy over deeper mystical exploration. However, as interest in esotericism resurges among modern seekers, an increasing number of Freemasons, particularly younger members, are rediscovering the craft's hidden dimensions. This article explores whether we are witnessing a true renaissance of esoteric Freemasonry, particularly in relation to the Blue Lodge and the Royal Arch, and how traditions like Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and alchemy remain relevant. Is this resurgence driven by a thirst for genuine mystical knowledge, or is it a passing trend? More importantly, how does Freemasonry position itself in the 21st century as a meaningful path for those drawn to the esoteric? 1. The resurgence of esotericism and Freemasonry's role. The rising interest in esotericism. Over the past 2 decades, there has been a growing fascination with esotericism, particularly among younger generations disillusioned with materialism and conventional religious structures. This is evident in the increasing popularity of occult literature, the revival of Hermetic and Kabbalistic traditions, and the widespread influences of figures like Carl Jung, René Guénon, and Manly P. Hall. The digital age has further fueled this interest, making once obscure mystical texts readily accessible. Freemasonry, with its allegorical teachings and structured initiatic system, naturally aligns with this cultural shift. Yet mainstream Masonry has often shied away from embracing its more esoteric dimensions, instead of emphasizing community service and fraternal bonding. However, there is a renewed call among younger Masons to reclaim a deeper symbolic teaching of the craft. The Blue Lodge and the Royal Arch gateways to Masonic esotericism. As we all know, the Blue Lodge, comprising of the 3 foundational degrees of Freemasonry, serves as the cornerstone of Masonic initiation. Its esoteric teachings are primarily symbolic and allegorical, designed to introduce candidates to the mysteries of self-improvement, moral refinement, and enlightenment. The Blue Lodge operates within the framework of speculative Freemasonry, focusing on the moral, ethical, and philosophical dimensions of the craft rather than direct mystical experiences. Esoterically, the Blue Lodge teaches the Mason how to build his own inner temple, using the working tools of the craft as symbols of intellectual and spiritual refinement. The candidate learns the significance of light as knowledge, the progressive steps toward wisdom, and the importance of secrecy and contemplation. However, despite its deep symbolic nature, it can also be limited in the depth of esoteric knowledge it imparts, leaving many questions unanswered. It establishes the framework of a spiritual journey but does not fully reveal the mysteries it alludes to. A significant esoteric element of the Blue Lodge is the allegory of the death and rebirth of Hiram Abiff, the legendary architect of King Solomon's temple. This dramatic allegory symbolizes the soul's journey toward enlightenment, the necessity of personal sacrifice, and the search for lost wisdom. However, does not provide a resolution to the legend of Hiram, nor does it fully unveil the lost knowledge that was hidden with him. Instead, it leaves Masons with a yearning for further knowledge, subtly pointing them toward higher degrees, such as the Royal Arch, where deeper esoteric insights are disclosed. On the other hand, the Royal Arch is often regarded as the culmination of the Master Mason's journey and the true completion of the ancient craft Masonry. While the Blue Lodge focuses on ethical teachings and self-improvement, the Royal Arch introduces Masons to a higher level of esoteric wisdom, revealing hidden knowledge that was lost in previous degrees. It is within the Royal Arch that Masons encounter the recovery of the true name of God, a profound esoteric moment that transforms their understanding of Masonic spirituality. Esoterically, the Royal Arch is a journey into the depths of the self, paralleling the inner search for divine wisdom. Whereas the Blue Lodge symbolizes the building of an external temple, the Royal Arch represents the discovery of the inner temple, hidden within one's own consciousness. The recovery of the lost word represents the attainment of spiritual illumination and the realization of one's divine potential. This aligns with many mystical traditions, particularly Kabbalah and Hermeticism, which emphasize the idea of hidden wisdom that can only be revealed to those who are worthy. The teachings of the Royal Arch also introduce deeper numerological, alchemical, and Kabbalistic elements. The sacred Tetragrammaton, the ineffable name of God, and some other knowledge is revealed in this degree, linking it to esoteric traditions where divine names hold power over creation. The use of sacred geometry in the Royal Arch, particularly in the symbolism of the keystone and the arch itself, reflects the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, emphasizing the connection between the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the self. In modern Freemasonry, esoteric Masons often consider the Royal Arch to be essential for a complete understanding of the craft. While more traditional Masons may focus solely on the Blue Lodge's moral teachings, this distinction reflects a broader philosophical divide within Freemasonry between those who see it as a moral and ethical brotherhood and those who view it as a mystical and initiatory tradition with deeper esoteric implications. 2. The connection between Freemasonry and the Western esoteric tradition. Hermeticism and Freemasonry, the esoteric connection and its influence on modern Masonry. Freemasonry, particularly in its esoteric dimensions, shares a deep and complex relationship with Hermeticism. Hermeticism is an ancient philosophical and spiritual tradition that emerged in the Hellenistic period, right around the 2nd to 3rd century CE. It's based on writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure combining aspects of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth or Jehuti. Core teachings of Hermeticism include, at first, the principle of correspondence, as above so below, as within so without, where the reality is structured in corresponding layers, and the macrocosm, the universe, mirrors the microcosm, the individual. This principle aligns with Masonic teachings of inner transformation, mirroring divine enlightenment. The second is the principle of mentalism, the all is mind. It tells us that the universe is fundamentally mental, and it exists within a divine consciousness. Masonic initiation reflects this through symbolism that seeks to awaken the initiate's understanding of universal wisdom. On the other hand, the Hermetic tradition also teaches us about alchemy and spiritual transformation. Hermetic alchemy is not just about turning lead into gold, but refining the soul to attain enlightenment. In Freemasonry, this corresponds to the transformation of the rough ashlar, the imperfect self, into the perfect ashlar, the enlightened self. Hermeticism also teaches us that wisdom is hidden but can be rediscovered through initiation, discipline, and study. This mirrors Freemasonry's concept of the lost word, which is hidden but revealed to the worthy in higher degrees. While Freemasonry does not explicitly identify itself as Hermetic, its rituals, teachings, and symbols clearly reflect Hermetic influences, like the example, the Temple of Solomon as a symbol of the universe, the 3 pillars, wisdom, strength, and beauty, the vault beneath the temple, or the triple Tao symbol. Hermeticism is not just a historical curiosity in Freemasonry, it is a living tradition that continues to shape the craft. As interest in esoteric Masonry grows, many initiates find Hermetic philosophy a powerful key to unlocking deeper Masonic truths. In a time where spiritual seekers crave authentic wisdom, the reunion of Freemasonry and Hermetic philosophy offers a profound path toward enlightenment. In recent years, esoteric Freemasonry has gained renewed interest, particularly, again, among younger generations seeking deeper spiritual meaning. And many Masonic scholars and esoteric lodges have revived Hermetic teachings as part of their study and practice. Kabbalah and Freemasonry. Kabbalah is a mystical and esoteric tradition within Judaism developed between the 12th and 17th centuries, with roots tracing back to earlier Jewish thought. It seeks to understand the nature of God, the universe, and humanity's place within it. Freemasonry and Kabbalah share a profound esoteric connection, with both traditions exploring themes of divine wisdom, sacred geometry, initiation, and spiritual transformation. While Freemasonry does not explicitly identify itself as Kabbalistic tradition, its symbols, rituals, and teachings incorporate many Kabbalistic principles, especially in the higher degrees of Masonry. The core Kabbalistic teachings include the Tree of Life and the Sephirot. The Tree of Life is a diagram of 10 interconnected spheres, or Sephirot, representing different aspects of divine emanation. These spheres correspond to various levels of reality, the human soul, and the path towards spiritual enlightenment. We have also the search for the lost name of God. In Kabbalah, the Tetragrammaton is the hidden and sacred name of God, holding the key to divine wisdom. The third core teaching is the sacred geometry and creation. Kabbalists believe that God uses mathematical and geometric principles to create the universe. And the fourth is the journey of the soul. The Kabbalah teaches that the soul undergoes a process of purification and enlightenment, moving closer to divinity, divine unity. The esoteric connections between Kabbalah and Freemasonry has influenced the craft for centuries. While mainstream Freemasonry often focuses on moral and philosophical teachings, esoteric Masonic groups recognize that Kabbalistic wisdom enriches Masonic initiation, symbolism, and spiritual practice. The Blue Lodge introduces Kabbalistic ideas through the pillars, sacred geometry, and the legend of Hiram. The Royal Arch completes the journey, revealing the hidden divine name and the ultimate Masonic secret. Modern esoteric Freemasonry is rediscovering Kabbalah, as many initiates seek a deeper mystical understanding of the craft. In an age where spiritual seekers crave authentic wisdom, the integration of Kabbalistic philosophy within Freemasonry, it offers a path toward enlightenment, inner transformation, and the rediscovery of divine truth. For many young seekers, the study of Kabbalah enhances their understanding of Masonic symbolism, providing a richer interpretive framework for the Masonic journey. The alchemical transformation is the process of turning base matter into gold, but this is not merely a chemical endeavor, but a spiritual one. Similarly, Freemasonry does not seek to create physical temples, but to refine the individual into a quote-unquote perfect ashlar. The stone, alchemy, and Freemasonry shape a deep and complex esoteric relationship, with both traditions focusing on transformation, enlightenment, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. While alchemy is often associated with the transmutation of base metals into gold, its true purpose, especially in its spiritual and hermetic form, is the refinement of the soul and the achievement of spiritual perfection. Freemasonry, particularly in its symbolism, rituals, and higher degrees, reflects this alchemical quest for inner transformation and enlightenment. Many esoteric Masonic scholars and lodges have preserved alchemical teachings within their traditions, making alchemy a key philosophical and mystical influence on modern Freemasonry. Alchemy describes a 7-step process of transmutation, which mirrors the Masonic journey of initiation. 1. Calcination, burning away impurities, symbolic of ego death. 2. Dissolution, breaking down of the old self, Masonic initiation. 3. Separation, identifying true spiritual elements, understanding Masonic symbolism. 4. Conjunction, uniting opposites, a balance between reason and intuition. 5. Fermentation, a new spiritual awakening, similar to receiving Masonic light. 6. Distillation, purification of knowledge, esoteric mastery in higher degrees. And 7. Coagulation, the final stage of enlightenment, a Master Mason's realization. As you can see, Freemasonry symbolically follows this process in its degrees, where the candidate undergoes a ritual death, purification, and rebirth similar to the alchemical magnum opus or the great work. By reclaiming alchemical wisdom, Masons today can deepen their understanding of self-transformation, making the craft's teaching more relevant to personal spiritual development. 3. Are younger generations seeking a more mystical or intellectual Masonry? A shift in expectations. The spiritual, but not religious trend has been gaining momentum globally, especially among millennials and Generation Z. Many young people are dissatisfied with traditional organized religion and are increasingly seeking alternatives that provide meaning, purpose, and spiritual growth outside of conventional frameworks. Freemasonry, with its focus on personal transformation and its open embrace of mysticism, seems to resonate deeply with this search for spiritual fulfillment. Mystical Masonry appeals because it promises inner illumination, personal transformation, and a deeper understanding of universal truths, much like the esoteric traditions, Kabbalah, alchemy, Hermeticism, that many modern Masons are eager to study. Many younger Masons are increasingly viewing Masonic rituals as a spiritual journey rather than just a ceremonial enactment. The 3 initiatory degrees of Blue Lodge and higher degrees of the Royal Arch Scottish Rite are being seen as spiritual milestones where each stage represents a step toward enlightenment or the discovery of hidden truths. Rituals themselves are viewed as mystical acts that can elevate consciousness and guide members toward higher understandings of the divine order and the nature of reality. While the mystical path draws many young Masons, there is also a growing intellectual curiosity among this group. The craft, with its emphasis on philosophy, ethics, and a quest for knowledge, appeals to those seeking to expand their intellectual horizons. Younger generations are seeking not just a mystical experience, but also a rational, structured understanding of the deeper truths Masonry explores. Many younger Masons are interested in the intellectual foundations of Freemasonry, its philosophical roots, its relationship with ancient wisdom traditions like Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and alchemy, and its modern reinterpretations. They are drawn to Freemasonry's intellectual history and how it has synthesized knowledge from various sources, including Greek philosophy, Enlightenment ideals, and medieval mysticism. As part of the intellectual shift, they are increasingly participating in Masonic study groups and research lodges where they can explore the deeper aspects of the craft. These groups provide a platform for the exploration of Masonic philosophy, history, and mysticism, encouraging Masons to pursue their intellectual curiosities. The study of ancient texts, the writing of Masonic philosophers such as Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike, and the teachings of Rosicrucianism and Hermeticism are particularly popular among young members. Younger generations are viewing Masonic initiation again as a journey of intellectual and mystical discovery. They want to be part of an organization that not only provides moral teachings but also offers a sophisticated intellectual framework for personal and spiritual development. They desire a path that provides answers to life's fundamental questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the nature of the divine? And how can we improve the world? They are looking for an experience that is intellectually stimulating and spiritually transformative, aligning with a broader cultural trend that values personal experience, intellectual engagement, and spiritual growth. In an era of personalization and self-discovery, younger Masons are seeking tailored Masonic journeys. They want to engage with the craft in ways that resonate with their personal beliefs and experiences. This has led to that growing interest in alternative Masonic groups and study lodges, where the craft is explored in more esoteric, mystical, and intellectual terms. These groups often focus on specific themes such as meditation, esoteric rituals, or philosophical inquiry, providing members with an opportunity to explore Freemasonry's deeper dimensions on their own terms. The internet has played a crucial role in this esoteric revival. Online discussions, digital archives, and podcasts have made previously obscure Masonic texts accessible to a global audience. However, this also poses challenges. While accessibility has increased, superficial engagement with Masonic esotericism can dilute its true value. Also, many younger Masons desire structured esoteric education within the lodge, requiring a shift in how lodges approach education. The challenge for contemporary Freemasonry is to meet this demand without losing the integrity of its initiatic processes. Conclusion: the future of Freemasonry and its appeal to younger generations. We are indeed witnessing a renaissance of esoteric Freemasonry, driven by a growing desire for deeper meaning in a rapidly changing world. Freemasonry, with its profound allegories and symbolic rediscovery of lost wisdom, plays a pivotal role in this revival. Our lodges stand at a crossroads. It can either embrace its esoteric heritage and attract a new generation of seekers, or risk becoming a relic of the past. If lodges foster serious engagement with Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and alchemy, they can reclaim their role as true initiatic schools of wisdom. The question remains, will Freemasonry adapt to this renaissance and flourish, or will it resist change and fade into obscurity? The answer lies in how Masons themselves choose to approach the craft. Younger generations are indeed seeking both that mystical and intellectual Freemasonry. They are not content with just outward practices of the craft, such as charitable work and social networking. They are increasingly drawn to those deeper mysteries. By exploring the traditions like Kabbalah, alchemy, and Hermeticism, and by engaging with intellectual philosophy and symbolism, they are shaping a new generation, a new future for Freemasonry, one that combines the best of both worlds. Freemasonry in this new era needs to offer not just a moral and social framework, but to embrace and retake the pathway to personal enlightenment, philosophical depth, and spiritual evolution, which younger generations are actively seeking in a fast-changing world. Our thanks goes out to Brother Chacon. I really appreciated the article. I love that he addressed the situation as much as he could with the given information that we have. I've long thought about this topic in terms of socioeconomics and socionomics, and often wondered if there is a correlation of sorts that can be drawn. This is an ongoing piece of research that I'm putting together for this presentation at the Conference of Grand Masters of North America. Once I've completed that presentation, I certainly will share it all with you on this podcast. Suffice to say, there is a deeper connection in why these generations are interested in esoteric masonry. My generation, why people are interested in that. And there is a pattern, and it is demonstratable. There is data to support it, and it's pretty fantastic. But let's move on to the next piece by Brother Axel Silvari. Coming from the Universal Freemasonry website, the article titled Mystery of the Circle and Square. Could an ancient, intraceable problem of geometry and mathematics hold the mystic key to awakening human consciousness? Let's find out. In the hidden architecture of the mysteries, where number and form are not mere abstractions but revelations of divine truth, geometry becomes a language of the gods. Each figure is a word, each proportion a sentence, and the initiate who learns to read them perceives the eternal dialogue between spirit and matter. Among these sacred forms, none has provoked deeper contemplation or been more richly invested with symbolic power than the circle and square. Their relation, expressed in the ancient enigma of squaring the circle, stands as one of the highest allegories of the initiatic path, representing nothing less than the reconciliation of the finite with the infinite, of man with God, of the earthly temple with the heavenly archetype. The circle, first among figures, is the sign of unity and eternity. It is without beginning or end, without edge or boundary, and thus mirrors the unconditioned essence of the divine. It encompasses all, and is encompassed by none. It is perfect curvature. No angle disturbs its continuity, no point prefers itself above another. It is therefore the image of the infinite, the monad, the boundless source from which all proceeds and to which all return. To the initiate, the circle is the visible expression of the invisible, the outline of the eternal mystery, the emblem of that omnipresent spirit in whom all being lives, moves, and has its existence. The square, on the other hand, is the form of the finite. It is stability, order, limitation, and definition. Its right angles symbolize rectitude, justice, and the moral law. It is the figure of the earth divided into the four quarters, governed by the four elements and sustained by the four cardinal virtues. If the circle speaks of the heavens, the square speaks of the world. If the circle represents the unmanifested, the square represents manifestation. The two are thus complementary and opposed. Heaven and earth, spirit and matter, eternity and time, perfection and progress. To square the circle is therefore to find that measure by which these two apparent opposites are brought into harmony. It is to reconcile the divine with the human, to bring the celestial order into correspondence with the terrestrial, and to make the soul itself a temple in which heaven and earth are conjoined. The ancient philosophers and adepts who clothed the highest truths in the veil of geometry understood this not as a problem of mathematics but as an allegory of regeneration. For in the visible world, the circle and square can never be made exactly equal. Their union defies the calculations of reason. Yet within the inner world of the spirit, the reconciliation is achieved when the human being, disciplined by virtue and illuminated by wisdom, becomes the living reflection of the eternal law. In the discipline of initiation, every line and angle of these two figures becomes a step in the ascent from ignorance to illumination. The initiate entering the lodge of life finds himself at first as the rough ashlar, a stone taken from the quarry of the world, unshaped and imperfect. His task is to cut, polish, and proportion this stone according to the measure of the square, which signifies moral law and upright conduct. To live squarely is to bring the errant forces of desire, fear, and pride into balance. To make the foundation of life just and true, the square teaches him that no spiritual edifice can rise without the exactness of ethical order. But when the foundation is firm, a higher labor begins. The compass measures not only the breadth of the heavens but the range of the soul's aspiration. As the square governs actions, the compass governs intention. As the square relates to the outer world, the compass relates to the inner. As the one regulates conduct, the other sanctifies purpose. The perfect Mason, therefore, is he in whom the compass and the square are united in due proportion, whose life is both righteous and inspired, both ordered and illumined. The attempt to square the circle in geometry mirrors this spiritual aspiration. The mathematician may multiply his calculations to infinity and never reach a final measure, for the infinite cannot be contained in number. The initiate, however, perceives that this impossibility is itself the revelation. It shows that reason alone can never bridge the gulf between the finite and the infinite. The path of equilibrium lies not in calculation, but in transformation. Only when man himself becomes the mediator between heaven and earth, when his own nature reflects the harmony of the cosmos, does the circle descend into the square, and the square ascend into the circle. In this sense, the operation of squaring the circle is the true work of initiation, the great work of the inner alchemist. The circle represents the spiritual essence, the divine spark within the soul. The square represents the lower nature bound to the material world. To square the circle is to draw the infinite into the finite, to incarnate the divine within the human without corrupting its purity. It is to make matter the servant of spirit, form the vessel of light and personality of the instrument of the universal will. In this transformation, the lower nature is not destroyed, but redeemed. It becomes the cube, the perfected stone of the temple, stable upon its base, yet radiant with celestial order. The cube itself is the visible completion of this mystery. It possesses 6 equal faces, 12 edges, and 8 points, numbers that conceal within them the keys to the cosmic proportion. It is the perfect balance of the vertical and horizontal, of the forces that ascend and those that sustain. In it, the initiate recognizes the perfected man, whose intellect, will, and heart are harmonized, and whose every action reflects the geometry of the divine reason. The cube is the squared circle made manifest, the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm, the image of God realized in man. This sacred geometry reveals the eternal law of correspondence, that spirit seeks embodiment and matter seeks sanctification. The universe itself is the circle squared by the great architect, the infinite made visible through the harmonies of form, number, and motion. Creation is the ongoing act by which the circle limits itself to produce the square, and redemption is the process by which the square returns toward the circle. The two operations are one, for creation and redemption are not opposites but phases of the same eternal rhythm, the breathing of the divine within the fields of time. Thus the Mason, tracing the figures of his art upon the trestle-board of meditation, comes to perceive that his tools are symbols of cosmic law. The compass and square, the rule and the level, the plumb and the gavel are not mere instruments of architecture but hieroglyphs of the soul's own labor. To use them rightly is to participate in the creative act of the Logos, to build within oneself that inner temple whose proportions mirror the harmony of heaven. The work is long and exacting, for every line must be true and every angle just. But when the task is complete, the temple stands as a reflection of the divine order, a geometry of living light. When the circle is squared within the soul, the initiate stands at the center of all worlds. The heavens reflect upon the floor of earth, and the earth ascends into the radiance of heaven. Time no longer binds him, nor space divides him, for he has found the proportion that unites all opposites. He becomes, in his degree, a living cornerstone of the cosmic temple, finite in form, infinite in essence, a mirror of the architect who traced both compass and square upon the face of the deep. To square the circle is, in truth, to complete creation within oneself. It is to make the heart. It is to make of the heart a sanctuary where the eternal dwells in the temporal, and of life a ritual of harmony between will and law, wisdom and love, spirit and flesh. It is the consummation of the Masonic art, the end toward which every degree points and every symbol leads. And when that art is fulfilled, when the inward architecture stands complete, the initiate beholds the secret of the ages written in his own being, that the circle was never apart from the square, nor the square from the circle, but both are one in the eternal plan of the great geometrician, whose compass is love and whose square is law, and whose word is the harmony of all things made manifest in light. Well, there you have this excellent write-up on the mystery of the circle and square, certainly poetic and rich in a sort of visual mental tapestry. But I believe that the key to this really comes in the conclusion of the article when he talks about the revelation that these things were never apart. Is it necessary that Masons realize a sort of duality and then eventually reach a point where they understand that the duality is itself an illusion, but also one that was necessary for you to be exposed to believe in, and to study so that you could better understand the different parts that comprise the whole before realizing that they're all part of the one. So kind of like a person standing there, then you can explode them into their different parts and bodily systems and organs, and then realize that those parts are essentially what comprise the actual thing, the person again. So a very interesting look here. I really liked the way the article is structured, and kudos to Brother Axel for once more bringing a wonderful article to the world. And with that, we'll have links to both of these articles in the show notes. One more time, I want to thank our producers, fellows, contributors, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. I invite you one more time to check out WCYpodcast.com. Click on support the show to see how you can help support the show. And if you're interested in supporting other ways, check out the shop where you can find all of our leatherworks through our Etsy store. You can get our producer's pin. You can pick up Max Heindale's Ancient and Modern Initiation Special Edition that I have republished with special new chapters added with all the original artwork. Also, you can check out The Master's Word by George Plumer, which is the definitive edition that you can pick up in either paperback or hardcover through Amazon, that was put together and annotated by yours truly and my cohort, John Ruark of the Masonic Roundtable. And of course, another project we worked on together, which is still available there too, is a modern day classic, It's Business Time, Adapting a Corporate Path for Freemasonry. A bunch of great ideas in there on how to best support your lodges administratively. And you can also get, anyway, that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for joining me one more time. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday season, and here's to another great year of Masonry, a great year of Masonic education and enlightenment, and I'm sending you all, right now, great vibes for 2026. Let's keep changing the world for the better. Until next week, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry, with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
Wait, that's me, man.